Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at SBDC BizGap program. We're happy to have you. And today we are presenting on winning more clients, how to best brand your food business. I am Michelle Caba, and Emily De Armas will also be presenting.
Hi, everybody.
So a little bit about me. I've built a few businesses in my past, built them to scale and sold them. Today, I am a business consultant and I also am a media buyer, and I help here at SBDC and consult clients to help scale their businesses. Emily?
Yeah. So I am a former Fortune 500 employee. I used to work at NBC and Telemundo down here and started the social media team and helped them really establish how to sell and market social media to major advertisers like Coca-Cola, Ziploc, Toyota. I've also been Emmy nominated for my social media coverage, and I help consult here with the SBDC specifically on social media, email marketing, copywriting, which is all about how you communicate what you do to help small business owners reach their goals.
So what is Florida SBDC at FIU? We are a resource partner that provides one-on-one business consulting, training, and information to small businesses in Miami-Dade and Monroe counties. And since the center started in 2014 through the end of 2023, the SBDC at FIU team provided the following client outcomes in Miami-Dade County and Florida Keys. We've done about 124,000 hours of consulting, 8,000 entrepreneurs and small business owners have been assisted, 479 businesses launched, 475 million in capital accessed, 314 million government contracts secured, and 471 million in increased revenues. This is the BizGap program. And the BizGap program stands for the Business Growth and Acceleration Program. It's an initiative that Florida SBDC at FIU has run since 2016. We're focused on providing hyperlocal consulting, training, and outreach to small businesses in targeted communities like District 27 and commercial corridors. The program's underlying principle is to meet small businesses where they are in the community, and the project is designed to provide another tool in the toolkit for communities looking to better assist their businesses with startup assistance and business growth. So outcomes from our partnerships with multiple communities in Miami-Dade. We've had 325 businesses contacted during in-person canvassing, 184 attendees from community trainings, 133 businesses consulted, 550 jobs supported, 5 businesses launched, and 670,000 in revenue increases, as well as 557,000 in capital access and 150,000 in local contracts obtained. So this year's BizGap program is funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration and District 27. And we are focused on training, outreach, door-to-door canvassing, one-on-one business consulting, data mapping, and surveys of small businesses located in District 27. Ooh, I'm so sorry, guys. This is the team at FIU Business, at FSBC at FIU. This is the rest of our team at FSBDC. And now we'll start with the presentation. So today's learning objectives is what is branding and what are the key components of a brand? So let's start with the types of business ventures. So the 2 core types of business ventures are entrepreneurial and lifestyle. Each has distinct characteristics and strategies and end goals, and each influence both your business planning and your brand development. So let's dive in first into entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial ventures are generally growth focused and often aim to build and sell businesses. So, entrepreneurs usually treat their businesses as a series of ventures, looking for opportunities to scale quickly. And the strategy here is always prioritizing rapid growth, right? Sometimes at the expense of short term profits. This type of venture explores alternative financing options like venture capital, angel investments to accelerate expansion. Now, lifestyle ventures are built a little differently. These are to create legacy for you and your family, and the focus here is generating reliable profits so that you can ensure stability over rapid growth. And lifestyle businesses typically rely on traditional financing, with the founder's goal often being long-term sustainability rather than, a quick exit or a quick sale. So the moral here is that ultimately your overall goal will drive your business strategy and influence your branding. So whether you're aiming to sell the business for a big return or create, some type of sustainable source of income that lasts generations, we need to understand the venture and make aligned decisions according to that strategy, operations, and marketing efforts. So, um, so what is your why for your business? This is the driving force behind any brand and any business. Many of us get a great idea, a solid plan, and find the best location. But before you start rolling out, the actual business ideas, it's important to ask yourself, why are you really doing this? Is it for the passion of creating something amazing? Or is it, to provide for your family, to leave a legacy, or maybe change, the world one croissant at a time, right? So your why is more than just a motivator. It's your North Star. It guides you in your decision making, it shapes your brand, it fuels, what you do, what the strategy is going to be, what products and services you bring forth and launch. So it's what gets you through the, all the tough times, right? The highs and lows of business. So keep your why front and center when building your brand, because it's definitely the heart of, of your story and what makes your business unique. So let's dig deeper into your why, right? Um, you know, if you're building a family-owned or legacy business, you're leaning all the way in, right? So highlight that family story, the generations of grit, or the legacy you're creating for the next. It's more than just, a nice tagline, it's an anchor that draws people in. So people love to buy into your good story. And if it's filled with family memories, it becomes relatable and powerful. Next, if you have a specific niche, unique expertise, or one-of-a-kind backstory, make sure that's front and center too. Maybe you started your business because of a gap you saw in the market, or maybe you have some wild or unexpected skills that set you apart, but use that differentiator, that quirky edge, could be what makes someone choose you over the competitor. And then let's not forget the origin story, right? This is where the magic happens. So think of your business as the superhero and the origin story as its superpower. It's the spark that sets you apart and makes your brand memorable. If it's compelling, use it in your marketing, in your pitches, and even in casual conversations, because people really connect with stories more than the products. We hear this all the time lately, like people buy from people, right? They don't buy from the logo. So why do you need branding? Many entrepreneurs out there have fantastic products or services, but they've put about as much thought into that branding as, they put into eating their breakfast. And if you're guilty of this, you're not alone, because most business owners and entrepreneurs skip this whole branding part, right, Emily? Often they just like skip right over it. And it can cost you, because this is really the secret, that secret recipe that helps you discover your target audience, helps you discover new products and services, and even helps you identify what your pricing structure should be. So whether you realize it or not, your brand already exists. It's what your customers think and feel about your business from the moment they see your logo, your name, to the moment that they decide to buy. So why not take control of it, right? Decide how you want to show up in the world and create a brand that reflects that vision. Branding is about being intentional with your messaging, with your visuals, and just your overall vibe. So remember that your brand is one of a kind, and it's the most valuable thing your business has. It's what keeps customers coming back and turns them into raving fans. So a quick story about marketing. It all started way back in ancient Egypt, where they were branding livestock. It was all about marking ownership and quality assurance. From there, branding wasn't just limited to cattle, it grew to cover other products like oil, wine, cosmetics, and even fish sauce. So you could say that the Egyptians were the original branding pioneers, slapping their labels on everything that they could. So fast forward to now, modern times, and branding, has really taken off. It took off actually after the Industrial Revolution. So as businesses grew, so did the need for a way to stand out in a crowded market. And branding evolved to become a core part of how corporations, products, services were identified and differentiated. So today, branding is more than just a mark of ownership. It's a story, it's a promise, and a key player in how businesses connect with their customers. So whether you're offering wine, fish sauce, the latest tech gadget, a strong brand is what makes you recognizable and memorable. So what is a brand? Well, I like to clear this up, and Emily, you can back me up. But most people think the brand starts and stops with their logo and their colors, and maybe a catchy tagline that usually has nothing to do with what you're really promising the customer, right? Because you probably didn't do the deep work to find out what that messaging was. But your brand is more than that. It's more than just logo and colors. It's how your customers perceive your product or your service. It's your voice, it's your personality, and the feeling people get when they think about your business. It's legitimately an emotional connection.
Yeah.
So it's what separates you from the crowd and keeps customers coming back. And I always like to give Nike as an example, because the swoosh is supposed to really give everybody that feeling that once you put on those sneakers or that tracksuit, you're actually an athlete like anybody else that they sponsor and are athletes, right? So think of your brand as a shared story, a collection of memories, experiences, expectations that make a customer choose your product over someone else's. And at the end of the day, a brand is your promise to your customer. It's that expectation you set for what customers can get when they do business with you. So ask yourself, what is the story you want to tell? And how do you want your customers to feel when they think of you? And I always recommend for my clients to do market research with their own customer base. Ask them, like, how do they perceive your brand? Because many a times they have that secret messaging that is all the hit and will, turn prospects into more customers. So as I noted before, it's more about logos or slogans. It's really important that you know your core values. I think there was a statistic I saw recently that you can convert 23% more if your potential clients share the same core values as you do. And that's why crafting a brand identity is so important. So when you do, I want you to ask yourself these questions. What is your company's mission? What are key features or unique benefits of your food and product? How do current and potential customers perceive your business today? And what do you want them to associate? Like what emotion, what feeling, what thoughts do you want them to associate when they're thinking about your company? So here are some key components of a brand. The first is brand definition, which is a clear statement of what your brand stands for. Brand values, as I mentioned before, core principles that guide your brand's behavior and decisions. Your brand promise, which is your commitment your brand makes to its customers. Brand identity. These are your visual elements that represent your brand, like your logo, colors, and design. Brand differentiation, and Emily will speak more about this later. It's, your unique qualities that set your brand apart from your competitors. Market position, so how your brand is perceived in the market relative to others. Brand messaging, that consistent language and tone used to communicate your brand story. And lastly, brand experience. So your overall feeling, the overall feeling customers get from interacting with your brand. So brand strategy development. It's about crafting your story and making a genuine connection between your product and the customer. So how do you do it, right? Well, first you need to research the market. So start by understanding the landscape. Who are your competitors? What are customers looking for? Because this really helps you fill in that gap. Secondly is clearly identifying the benefits that your product, your service offers. There was supposed to be some bullet points there we go. I was wondering where they were. The benefits of what your product, what problem does it solve and why should customers care? Personality, so give your brands a voice and a tone. You can be authentic on this. I see so many businesses trying to be uber professional when the brand doesn't really call for that, right? And the brand is really you. You're that person that's connecting with your customers day in, day out, and your employees, right? So be playful if it calls for that. Be professional if it calls for that, or maybe do a mix of both. But your brand's personality shapes how customers perceive you. Aspiration. Think about what your customers aspire to. How does your brand fit into their dreams or lifestyle goals? So is your brand growing with them as they grow with you, right? Emotion. A great brand doesn't just sell a product, it evokes emotion. So what feelings do you want your brand to trigger? I mean, in the case of restaurants, you want your clients to feel like they're starving, like they want to eat your food, right? So how is your brand showing up to evoke that feeling? Positioning. Finally, tie in all together with your positioning statement. It should be concise. It should be a declaration of what makes your brand special and who it's for. Because, building a brand, it requires so much effort and it is a lot of deep work. But most importantly, it's you taking the time to have a real clear understanding of what makes your business different from the next. I think this was on here twice. 1 second. All right. So now let's talk about stakeholder analysis, which is a crucial part of building a successful brand strategy. So first, who are your stakeholders? Well, simply, it's anyone affected by what your business does or has an interest in its success. That's a stakeholder. So the owner is a stakeholder, your employees are a stakeholder, suppliers are stakeholders, investors, and even the community around you, right? They're stakeholders. So now the tricky part is that you can't please everyone. It's impossible to meet the needs of every single stakeholder equally. So that's why it's essential to identify which stakeholders are most critical to your business. This involves considering how they align with your values and contribute to the health of your business. For instance, customer satisfaction, right? That's a core value. Customers should be among your top priorities. And then once you've identified and prioritized your key stakeholders, keep them in mind when crafting your brand strategy, right? Like what are they into? How is their behaviors changing? Like when you focus on these stakeholders who matter most and ensure that your brand meets the needs, right? They're engage with them effectively, build strong relationships with them. So using tools and resources for target market research. When it comes to really understanding your audience, there are several ways to gather valuable data. First off, there's the good old in-person asking questions, greeting your customers, asking them, hey, do you like, what you ordered today? How was the service? That can go a long way. So that means getting out there and talking directly with your consumers. You and your team can conduct interviews. You can even train your team to ask them questions like during checkout, key questions that could help you further, uh, tie in your brand, right? Now, if you're looking for a broader data, there are plenty of free public resources available. So you can tap into databases like the US Census Bureau, the Federal Reserve, or the Department of Labor. These resources offer a wealth of information that can help you understand market trends, demographics, and economic factors impacting the industry. So here's the good news. If you're unsure about how to access or use these data points, you don't have to go it alone because you have us consultants here at SBDC FIU available to assist you. So if this is something you need help with, feel free to reach out and schedule with either myself or Emily, because we're here to guide you, we're here to give you resources and even help you interpret that data so you can make informed decisions on your brand strategy, right? All of these tools effectively give you a competitive edge. So make sure that you truly understand your target market and how your brand connects with that target market. So target markets identified. That was a nice little cue-in. The first step is to get really specific about your product and who it's meant for, because it's not enough to just have a great old idea. You need to know exactly which segment or segments of the market your product or service fits into. So this means understanding not only the demographics, but also the psychographics, their behaviors, their challenges, their likes, their needs of your target audience. Sometimes one product can appeal to multiple segments. So for example, you might find that you can tailor your messaging to attract different groups with slightly different needs. Or you might discover that you have both a primary and a secondary target market, right? So recently I did a webinar and there was a client whose target demographic was younger, but he realized that with his product or service, they were growing with him and now the demographic was getting older. So he had a second segment of an older demographic. The primary market is where you expect most of your sales to come from, while the secondary market is more like the cherry on top. Still important, but not the main focus. So the more accurately you identify and segment your target markets, the more effective your marketing strategies will be, leading to better results and stronger customer relationships. So customer benefits. I felt like this slide can stand alone and speak on its own, right? These are the questions you want to ask about your brand to make sure that it's aligned, right, with your customer. So who are you? What do you offer? To whom do you offer it? What ideals does your brand represent? So again, those core values. What is the underlying guarantee you offer your customers? And this is your commitment, right? Is your guarantee that you're going to know their birthday when they have, when they order food with you and offer them a discount on their actual birthday, right? What differentiates you from the competition? This is my favorite part, brand personality, because um, we talk about your brand's actual personality, and that's the personality that the client engages with, right? So many businesses do treat their brand as an abstract concept, something that's like you can't touch it, that's separate from the company itself. But that's completely a mistake. Your brand isn't just a logo or a tagline, it really is the beating heart of your business. So, how your business feels, talks, and connects with customers is super important to keeping that consistent brand. Being a business owner is more than a full-time job. It's, your passion, it's your livelihood. So your brand deserves the same level of care. Think of it as a living, breathing extension of yourself. I tell my clients all the time, your brand is a long game. It's not something that you identify today and you set it and forget it. No, it's something that you want to revisit every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, because it's growing with your customer base, right? Or you want it to grow with your customer base. Because the goal is to create a real connection with your audience. So one of the best ways to do this is by giving your brand a personality, right? And this is usually when we want to use a fictional character. Like I use Stuck Sophia to give my brand a personality, because I'm usually working with women who have been in business for 3 years or more, and they're just stuck. They don't know what they don't know. Next is aspiration. So ask yourself, what is your ideal market position based on? Is it based on quality? Is it based on price? Are you aiming to be a premium choice in the food industry? Which, is it about luxury? Is it about superior quality, top tier pricing? Or are you positioning yourself as the economy choice, right? Maybe on the lower tier where it's more affordable and affordability meets value. Everything from your branding, messaging, customer experience, and even your product design should reflect this aspiration, because consistency is key. Your visual identity, tone, even customer service must align with the position you want to hold, right? So if it's luxury, experience in the food industry, then your customers expect a luxury experience. If it's affordability, then it should be quick, easy, and they're ready to go. Next, emotion. And this is one of the most critical aspects of branding. I can't say it enough. Because again, it's not just about what your brand does, but it's about how it makes your customers feel, right? We've all been into, restaurants where they're homey, and if you're here, from another country, it takes you back, right? It like transports you back to home. And then there's other restaurants that just give you an all-out experience that you never thought you could have, and that's awesome in and of itself. So ask yourself, what emotions are you targeting amongst your customers? Are you aiming for a sense of trust, excitement, empowerment, or perhaps, all of it? all the things, right? Identifying the right emotions is key to creating a strong connection with your audience. And, don't stop there. We need to ensure that our messaging is relevant, consistent, again, that word keeps showing up, and true to the brand's core. So in other words, are we keeping it real, right? When we're telling our stories, when we're trying to evoke this emotion, is it really aligning with the essence of your brand? And is it really triggering those emotions that you want to trigger? So think about the customer experience you want to create. And then at every touch point, from the first impression to the, ongoing engagement, to when they receive their food, to when, they're hungry again, what do you need to design in terms of messaging, experience, emotion that delivers that and makes them come back for more, right? And so here I'm going to leave it to Emily. I'm stop sharing, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks, Michelle. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about positioning, and you've heard that word so far as we've been going through this presentation. But when we're talking about positioning, we're really thinking about it in comparison to what else is out there in the marketplace, because nothing exists in a vacuum, especially your messaging. So people have a multitude of choices. People have a lot of different options. And so it's really important that you understand what is your corner of the market? What is it that you want to say? And how do you want to use your messaging to say that? Lucky for food brands, people generally like food and people get hungry often, right? Something that we're constantly doing, eating. It's not like a one and done type of thing. But with that, you have to be able to tap into what is your position in comparison to your competitors and the other alternatives that somebody might turn to. So positioning is really about knowing the right things to say about your product, your restaurant, etc., to the right people in a way that they really understand it, in a way that's really obvious to them. So this helps create a personal connection, and it helps to personalize your target market so that you create a strong connection between the brand and then the people that you're ultimately trying to reach. So a positioning statement is something that you can use. It's usually more internal than it is external. So it's a little bit different from something like a tagline that would be more consumer facing. So a tagline is something that people are going to associate to your brand. They're going to know you based off of that tagline. Like Michelle spoke about earlier, Nike, we all know, just do it, right? It just pops into your head. So that is more of the outwardly facing positioning statement. Tagline. But your positioning statement is more internal for you. So it's your North Star, it's your guidepost for all of the marketing and all of your branding strategies so that you kind of keep that top of mind with everything that you're doing. And that's what creates a cohesive brand. Sometimes when we work with clients, they can kind of be all over the place with their brand messaging. So it's really important to have this North Star because it keeps you organized. And if you are organized and you're clear, then your customers are going to be able to pick up on that a lot easier than if you're kind of all over the place. And you want to make sure that whatever your positioning statement is something that you can actually deliver on. So it's something that will create credibility because whatever it is that you are setting out to do, you're following through on that promise as a brand. Some questions that you can ask yourself when developing a positioning statement are, what do my customers care about? Or why do my customers care about this, right? That's really important. I always say to my clients, and I know this sounds harsh, but I say, just assume nobody cares. And that actually kind of liberates you because your job is to make them care through the branding, through the messaging, through your presentation. But if you go into it just assuming nobody cares, my job is to make them care, it helps you answer some of these questions. You also want to understand what is the benefit of this product, or what is the benefit of eating in this restaurant? What are some of the things that you offer that maybe other people don't, right? What is the clear distinction between you and your immediate competition? And then what can you do to differentiate yourself from them? How can you go bigger or go bolder or just do things in a different way that gives your restaurant or your food brand, your product, a different twist to it and something that people can latch onto and people can associate to you? So, for example, here's a positioning statement from McDonald's. I'm sure we're all familiar with McDonald's. McDonald's is the leader in the fast food industry with quick and friendly service and consistency across thousands of convenient locations. McDonald's dedication to improving operations and customer satisfaction sets it apart from other fast food restaurants. So this is not something that you're going to hear on a McDonald's commercial, right? This is really internal for them so that they understand where are we going, what is the mission, what are we focused on as a brand and as a company. So they want to be focused on being a leader in the industry, on the quick and friendly service, on having that quick and friendly service be consistent across all of their locations. And that all ties into improving operations and customer satisfaction. So everything that you're seeing in this positioning statement is something that as a company, they could say, okay, well, our marketing efforts, are they aligning with this positioning statement? Are we following through on the promise? Let's do some actual examples. So Half Moon Empanadas, that's a fast casual restaurant. It started in Miami in 2008. It was founded by a husband and wife team. And it's grown in Miami to over 20 different actual stores and 13 different airport locations. They have 150 total employees. And really, what I find interesting is this little tidbit that they almost went bankrupt in South Beach. And then they shifted to a Miami kitchen and a cart. And then in 2011, they got a contract for a location at MIA. And then now they're the top selling business per square foot at the airport. So their mission statement is Half Moon Empanadas is a female-owned company providing traditional Argentinian empanadas made from scratch from the highest quality ingredients. Our unique offering brings authentic comfort food and flavors to customers in a convenient, fast, healthy, and affordable way. So that's pretty clear. We know what it is that they're looking to do. Their vision is to make Half Moon Empanadas a mainstream national brand and to have made from scratch empanadas be the new food category in the US. We want to see high quality empanadas as accessible as the burger to families and travelers across the country. So even in this vision statement, you can see that they are thinking about their positioning because they're comparing it to the burger. They're thinking about other foods that people associate to being accessible and accessible specifically to families. They want empanadas to be just as accessible as a burger. And then their values, Half Moon Empanadas is a Latina-led and looks to lift up other Latinas. We empower our team to dream big, level up their skills, and pursue their purpose. Anything can be accomplished with hustle and heart. So their identity is really infused into the entire brand beyond just the fact that we know that the empanadas are from Argentina. Therefore, obviously, it has that association. That's something that they really want to foster and grow and keep that cultural side of it important internally as well as part of their values. And that's something that they can definitely share with customers, and that creates that connection. Another example is Chobani. So Chobani was founded by a Turkish Kurd entrepreneur, Hamdi Ulukaya. He grew up in Turkey and his family raised sheep and goats, and he was disappointed with the different options for yogurt in the US, so he started making yogurt at home. And as he was working on it, he called in, somebody called a yogurt master, which I didn't even know that was a job, but that sounds kind of cool. And this yogurt master helped him to refine the recipe. And now, obviously, we're all very familiar with Chobani. We've all seen it in the grocery store, probably. In 2007, he got a loan from the SBA, and he purchased a closed craft food plant in upstate New York, and that's how he launched his brand. The mission statement of Chobani is, as a food maker with a mission of making high quality and nutritious food accessible to more people while elevating our communities and making the world a healthier place. So I'm not gonna read through this whole thing because there are other things that I want to be able to get to in our presentation today, but really their vision and their values are associated more to wellness, specifically helping not only nutritional wellness, but social wellness, environmental wellness. So you can see that that's also woven into the values, that they're people first. They're a food and wellness focused company. And that includes all these different aspects of wellness, not just on the food side. So how does branding actually affect your marketing and ultimately affect your revenue? Because you're a business for a reason. You might have a passion for what you do, but obviously we want our businesses to be successful. And branding absolutely can boost your marketing and boost your revenue. So an example is Burger King and McDonald's have been in this kind of war since the 80s. And in 2015, Burger King focused specifically on the Halloween time period to stand out and to create press and create noise for them. In the food space, I think it's really important to be innovating quite frequently, especially when it comes to your branding, because yes, we all eat all the time, but people kind of get stuck into their ruts. And so you want to be creating something that is innovative. And it doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel or create a new product or completely change your entire restaurant, but you want to be able to introduce novelty because that's what keeps people coming back. So in 2015, Burger King did a Black Whopper. In 2016, they dressed up a restaurant as a McDonald's ghost. And in 2017, they did a partnership with the movie Pennywise, and they did this entire campaign asking for people to come dressed as clowns and then eating like a king. So they're really kind of going after McDonald's branding here. I'm not a fan of scary movies, so I did not participate in this at all, but they were partnering specifically with this movie. And so that's something that you can do as a food brand, even if you're a smaller company, is you can piggyback off of trends and things that are happening in the culture to expand your branding. And by creating really specific partnerships, and I'll go through a few examples, that can also help just widen your reach and get your brand in front of more people. So during this Come as a Clown, Eat Like a King campaign, they basically were able to get a total media value of $22 million, meaning the amount of exposure that they got was worth $22 million just from this campaign alone. So you don't want to underestimate the impact of branding and a good campaign can have on your marketing, because not only will it increase exposure and awareness, but it can also impact sales, because in this case, their global sales increased up to 15% just from this one campaign. Here are some other examples of brand positioning. Michelle was speaking earlier about, brands kind of taking a more professional approach. And I cannot agree more. I think a lot of businesses, especially when they're starting out, get stuck in what I call business speak, where they think they have to present this very polished, almost corporate kind of view of their brand, but that's not what people really connect to. So humor and leaning into just the fact that we're all humans and we're all real people living in the real world, that can push your brand way farther than this very kind of polished but detached sort of branding. So Oatly is a brand that makes oat milk, and their brand positioning is that they are not only plant-based and sustainable, which we might assume, but they're also irreverent. They're kind of funny. They don't take themselves too seriously. So they did a campaign that said it's like milk but made for humans. And they also had a billboard that just said, "Wow, no cow." So they're playing up on the fact that this is oat milk. It's different. It's not that difficult to understand, right? We all kind of understand that concept. But the reason that it works is because it is bold. It is unpolished. It feels real. It's not something that is following the norm. So don't be afraid to branch out with your branding. They're kind of going in a different direction from the traditions of the dairy industry. And they're appealing to the people who are health conscious, who are probably already drinking either soy milk or almond milk, to give them this other option in already a crowded space, but they're doing it in a way that is playful and unpolished, and that catches attention. Another brand that I wanted to talk about is Crumble Cookies, because Crumble Cookies, their brand positioning is fun, indulgent, but also really brings in that novelty aspect. So like Burger King with that Black Whopper that they did for Halloween season, Crumble Cookies is really capitalizing on this idea of a rotational cookie menu. And so this weekly cookie drop that they're doing as their signature campaign, that's what's really bringing people in, is when they're releasing these new flavors and they're making fun and engaging videos about it for social media. They have these hyper fans that are so fixated and really want to see, okay, what is the new cookie flavor that's coming out? And it also creates a sense of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, because they're limited runs and people want to try the latest flavors before they're gone. So with food, that's something that you can definitely lean into. Limited edition products are key. I mean, I'm sure we have all stood in that line at Knott's Berry Farm to get the cinnamon buns, right? So you know that with certain food products, if you're not in line by a certain hour, they're going to go, right? And that's it. You're not going to have them anymore. So that creates a sense of FOMO for people, and attracts not only foot traffic, but you can also translate this online as well. And to just give you an idea of the impact that Crumble and their specific branding has had in these campaigns, they hit 1 billion in revenue in 2022. They expanded to 700 plus locations across the US in just a few short years. Their loyalty membership program has millions of people in it. So they really have a lot of hyper fans. And their success has led to partnerships with brands like Kellogg's. So that's something that you want to think about and leverage. It's how can you create partnerships with maybe other food brands? How can you create more exposure for one another? And then their store layouts are open concept. So it allows people to see the process of the cookies being baked. That makes people feel like they're part of something. And their branding is very eye-catching, right? All the little boxes where the cookies come in are in that shade of pink that you see in the Kellogg's box. And color can be something that's very important, and really cements something in somebody's mind. So, I mean, if I say Tiffany's, you're probably thinking about the little turquoise box. That color is now associated to that brand, and it's the same thing with Crumble in this particular shade of pink. So some ideas that you can use for your specific food brand if you wanted to do a campaign, because you might be thinking, yeah, Emily, that's great, but I don't have Burger King money. Something that you could do is you could run a local ingredient challenge. So you could make a limited run of products or dishes using a locally sourced ingredient. And maybe it's seasonal. So by nature, it's going to create that sense of FOMO, because once it's gone, it's gone. You can do behind the brand. You can showcase the people, the process of production, any kind of behind the scenes look into your business. You would be surprised how far that goes. People really want to see the people that are behind the brand and behind the business. And as a small business, you have a unique ability to connect with customers in a way that really large companies don't. Like Coca-Cola could do a factory tour, and that might be interesting to just see the scale of that production. But if you are able to do that on a small level, you create a sense of connection. So when people are buying from you, they are associating that product to the owner and to the staff that works there. And that creates a sense of support and a sense of closeness that you might not get with bigger brands. For holidays and events, you can create themed products. You can lean into your positioning in the marketplace and stand out and see, okay, what is everybody else doing? What can I do differently? You can also collaborate with other food brands to create a special flavor. For example, Salt and Straw is a national ice cream company, but they make it a point that any location that they open is partnering with other local food brands to create flavors that are only available in that particular area. So in the case of Miami, Salt and Straw uses Panther coffee. in some of their ice cream. So they're partnering with other independent food brands that are in the area to create something new. You could change the packaging color or the element of how you present your product for a special edition or occasion that might create something different. So crumble cookies, for example, they have the pink box. They could do a variation on the pink box for a special occasion. That really works if you already have something that people associate with your brand of how they're presented. You can also lean into flash sales and you can do discounts. If you're looking to create engagement on social media, you can offer coupons, you can create special offers that are only available to those people. And you can also create a sense of being in the know. For example, there was a local cafe that I was going to that for a while did something called Free Cookie Friday. So they didn't advertise it, they didn't tell anybody about it. But if you happen to go in there on a Friday and order something, you got a free chocolate chip cookie. And so they just started saying, yeah, it's Free Cookie Friday. And so then when Friday would roll around and I would think about eating, I think, oh, I'm going to go there because I get my free cookie for Free Cookie Friday. So you can create an event and you can create a theme out of anything. It doesn't have to be tied to the literal calendar. You can do whatever you want to create a movement and create something special as a differentiator for your food brand. Now, how do we actually measure success and how do we know that all of these efforts are actually doing something for us? Well, we want to answer a few questions here. So we want to think about how the performance of your food brand compares with the industry. What are the trends? What is typical? That's going to give you some ideas in terms of benchmarking. And if you're not really sure how to start with this, then I recommend that you meet with either Michelle or I. We can definitely help you come up with some benchmarks that you can use to test out your campaigns. Because you want to make sure that if you're putting your effort into something, especially marketing related, as a business owner, you're wearing so many hats, you're doing so many things, you want whatever you're doing to be effective. And that's a common complaint that I hear from many clients. It's like, I'm doing all this marketing stuff, but I don't know if it's working or not, or it feels like it's not working, or I'm just not getting the ROI out of marketing. So we want to make sure that we're tracking so that we can tell if your efforts are effective. For example, that same cafe that I mentioned, I was talking to the owner once and he said that, he'd been running ads on Facebook, not really getting much traction, but he switched to running ads on Yelp and he could actually see, on the computer, somebody saw the ad and then he could watch the person walk into the store. And that was really exciting for him because he could actually make that connection between this is what I put effort into or money into, and now I'm actually getting something in return. So we want to make sure that the actual branding efforts are effective. We want to also ask, are you doing everything you can to really be customer oriented? Especially with food, especially with restaurants, there's so much choice out there. You want to make sure you're establishing that personal relationship with the customer. And you want to make sure also that your brand is perceived by your customers the way that you want. So if you are, let's say, trying to be more in that luxury category, but you're being perceived as too expensive or the food isn't aligning with that vision, then that's where we can make tweaks and understand how you can position yourself in the marketplace to make sure that people really are getting what it is that you're trying to put out there. And when you are putting all this effort into your branding, you're implementing these different things, you want to be able to measure all of that. So this all sounds very fancy, but it's really as simple as having an Excel sheet where you can track different things. You can, if you have customer data, you can do brand awareness surveys. You can ask people questions when they're in your restaurant, or if you have access to them via, let's say, an email list, that's a great place to actually talk to people and get information. You can track things like social media. Are you growing? What's the engagement? If you run a flash sale, are you getting any traction? Are people coming in? Does that actually impact anything? You can monitor the brand mentions and sentiments. So are people talking about the brand? What are people saying? You can look at your website traffic and your conversion rates, and you can also measure customer loyalty. If you have a customer loyalty program, how many people are participating? How many people are you getting to sign up for that? These are all things that we can help you do through the SBDC to make sure that you are really able to get a sense for what's working and what's not, because whatever is working, we can double down on that and we can do more of that, but we have to know it's working in the first place. These are some additional business resources. You will get this presentation, I believe, at the end. It's being recorded, but there are some resources here for you. So the fundamentals of starting a food business. You can watch a video on the right marketing strategy for your business, the impact of being customer-centric, and then you can also find out about additional webinars that we might be running that will be helpful for you on a variety of different business topics. With that, I am going to stop sharing because we are at the point of questions. So let's see here. I'm going to just go to the chat quickly. Gabriela and Mateo, if you see any questions in the Q&A, please let me know. So somebody's asking about the presentation, but I do believe, yeah, so up at the top, Mateo mentioned that it is being recorded. It will be on the YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and check that out once we wrap. That's so far the only question I'm seeing. So if anybody has any actual like marketing related questions, Michelle and I can stick around for that. Otherwise, we can go ahead and close out. I don't see anything in the Q&A. So we'll just go ahead and wrap. Thank you all for being here. If you need any more assistance with marketing, with branding, positioning, all the things we've talked about, please feel free to register with Michelle and I. We'd be more than happy to help you get your businesses going and get you to where you want to be. There's a link in the chat to register if you're not registered for BizGap. So please go ahead and take note of that so that you can go ahead and sign up and participate. All right. And with that, I think we're good to go. Thank you everybody for participating. We will see you in our next webinar.
Thanks, everybody.